Uduasha city, where the sun is a mirror and the moon a shadow. 800 years ago, the gates of death were broken by the Emperor Immortal. The 5 key-bearers, however, had already unlocked them and walked right through. It is in Uduasha city they dwell. Now, the ghost field breathes next to our reality, lit by the eternal flame of the well of Udu. It is a second skin, a place where thought and will struggle against gravity and light. In other places, the dead congregate in the ghost field, but in Uduasha, the well city, the hell city, they fall straight into the flames. See its glittering districts: Kshitijpur, where the rich plot to buy the horizon; Bunda West, where the refugees of 2 different nations flock; and Pasarhandu, the vertical maze of market and murder. And here is Udepat, where the ceaseless temple resides. Its inhabitants, a family, a snake, and a god. The temple has stood since before the gods of this world were forgotten. Watch as it turns the wheels of revolution. Welcome to Desperate Attune, an actual play podcast about people who take risks so they can survive against the odds.
Welcome back to Desperate Attune, everyone. This is Prince with a recap of last week's episode. So, last time on Desperate Attune, we saw the crew enter the Kingfisher grotto. Miraz spoke with the voice of one of his past incarnations and was recognized by Freya as the shrine builder, one of the original builders of temples in Uduasha. But Freya herself was not free from arcane influence, being under the spell of the Kingfisher, a vast bird-like monster perched on the throne behind her. Not only that, but she was accompanied by a court of ghosts, including one old king of Scotland that had possessed the crew's dear friend, Johannes. With the crew surrounded by ghosts on all sides, and with the Kingfisher perched on the throne behind Freya, Vickers called out Johannes for succumbing to ghost possession, and then strode forth to have a stern talking to with Freya, reaching out to the young woman that still was there beneath the surface. She managed to get through to Freya against all odds, and the young woman briefly wrested free of the god's influence, but not without a cost. Johannes, possessed by a ghost, turned towards Miraz and attacked him with a sword, striking a glancing blow across the head and knocking Miraz to the ground. Meanwhile, the ghosts, agitated, burst forth in an attempt to attack the crew, but Joan, having her wits about her, loaded up on electroplasmic ammo and shot Johannes down, driving out the ghost, though inflicting some injuries on the crew's poor hang glider. Finally, seeing all the chaos unfolding around them, Abbas stepped forth, and in the cavern full of dangerous ghosts, deployed an ancient ritual to invoke the fire of Uduasha and bring true light, starlight, into the cavern, the Kingfisher grotto, to do to the ghosts what the well itself does, and have all of the ghosts fall straight into the fire. At least that was the plan. And that is where we left off last week, and where we pick up this week, as Abbas hurls a ball of fire into the center of Kingfisher grotto.
I think that what happens is that as you raise this, nearly all of the ghosts had actually, they were not attacking, right? Because Freya had said, "Old, I would hear what this guest has to say," right? So the only ghost who chose to disregard her was the one who was already in the process of taking over your Johannes. When you gather this flame in your arms, you see all of the ghosts suddenly move their heads in unison towards your hands, and their eyes cloud over, as if now no longer that being animated by that intelligence. And then they all I think the reason that you yelp and throw the fire away from you is that all of them are literally diving straight towards this fire in your hands.
because they can't but do that. Like they can't resist that, right? But the flame is not just like in the ghost field, and it's not just metaphysical, it is also physical. And so as you throw this fire away from you, it lights up this grotto now in a much more like a divine and powerful way than like the electroplasmic lantern that Miraz was using, right? And now you see the Kingfisher grotto as it truly is, which is across the floor littered with the bones of all of those people who have ever come here, right? And it sets even these bones on fire. And Marion, who has had this haunted look in her eyes until now, finally recognizes what is going on around her. But rather than running away, which is the logical thing to do, finds herself trapped in this flame along with the Scottish revolutionaries. And I think, Abbas, what you realize you've done is that the way that you've tossed this fire means that you've consigned all of the Scotlanders who were here basically to a gruesome fiery death, because they are standing amongst these bones and the bones are being consumed by this fire in the way that they're always like kind of like designed to, because the chandlers also make their wax from the dead in some fashion. And I think the screams of the dead, kind of like the dying, both the dead and the dying, the ghosts and those soon-to-be ghosts, are heard across the grotto. Johannes is lying in a heap on the floor. The ghost inside them also having, disappeared because, flame. But Johannes is now has a gut full of bullets. I think they're not on the floor, actually. I think they're in Maud's arms, and Maud is just weeping.
Yeah, I kind of want to protect from this, but I don't know if you have some idea.
I mean, I was gonna say, is it even possible am I in a position to resist this, or have I already just, traumatized out?
Yeah, if you traumatized out, you usually can't resist.
Yeah,
I think that's the rule. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
But I will protect from it, and it sort of chains into my next action, I think, which would be like the fire breaks out. There's this, the ghosts being drawn into the fire, the people about to get trapped, but the fire doesn't spread that quickly. Mm-hmm. And so Vickers will call out through the room, holding Freya's hands. She will call out, "All right, nobody panic. Remember your fire drills. Move in an organized fashion towards the nearest exit."
Vickers is incredible. She's just a force of nature.
Fire drills are a thing, okay? We practice them at the temple. Sure. Hopefully these people have practiced fire drills too. And panicking helps no one. So I'm resisting with resolve. I do take stress this time.
These people live in a refugee shantytown. I'm sure they have fire drills as well.
Uh-huh.
Because that's much of a bigger problem for them than it is for most people.
Mostly, this is what you do when a fire breaks out. As long as everyone's calm and no one panics, people can usually get out. So I am resisting by organizing people. And what I want to do, basically, what I want to accomplish is for the people who can move to pick up someone who can't move and in an orderly fashion go towards the nearest exit.
I think that should be a role, because I think what the resistance does is make sure that they don't all like the Inferno doesn't just immediately get out of hand and burn them down, right? What you've managed to do now is, as you say, you've kind of organized them, you've knocked some sense into them. Marion is also barking these orders, coordinating with you, but you still have to make sure you get out, right?
Mm-hmm. I will use command.
I'm trying to think if there's a devil's bargain here.
Okay, I might have a devil's bargain to suggest, but let's make sure I have the scene right. So you're trying to get people to basically organize themselves and get the fuck out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, my devil's bargain is that even though we're way under the surface, the smoke is rising up, and there's going to be a lot of attention on the other side as people are going to try to help bring people out. So this is going to kind of spread a bit. I'm not saying that the fire will spread, but people will know that this happened.
We will take heat.
Yeah.
I find that perfectly acceptable. It makes sense. It just makes sense in this situation. How much heat?
We made a fire in 2 keys.
Yeah, I think 2 makes sense.
2 or 3?
Yeah. I think two it makes sense.
2. Yep.
Yep.
We are definitely
Yeah.
taking a wanted level for this.
You are again in a desperate position, but I think here, let's say that actually the desperate position is you have to make this happen and also get Freya and Maud and Johannes all out, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm ordering them too. Freya can move.
Yeah.
And
So I
whatnot.
think that the desperation here is that, like, in the confusion, it's entirely possible that, like, you miss someone and someone's left behind. I think you're paying enough attention that it won't be any of the named NPCs, right? But that's almost worse in that someone will, like, end up behind there, and then, like, the blame will not, like, will fall on you, right? So.
People will die. Yep.
And it, yeah, you can do this, right? Like, you can absolutely.
Okay, and I have a bonus dice from the Devil's Bargain from Heat.
Oh, excellent.
I roll a 6.
Yeah.
It's fine. I get everyone.
We see you. We see you and Marion get everyone out. Maud is being helped with Johannes by Freya. I think the two of them are, like, dragging Johannes out, like, in, like, a one arm over each shoulder, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And, like, the one good thing is that, like, once you get out of the front door and you get out of the little hallway, we had actually said that the main entrance is via boat. So at least once you get out there, it's not like the fire can really follow you until that. So, like,
Yeah, we're in a wet cave. So I will get all the PCs and NPCs out. And I think a bit of a character-defining moment here is that we see Vickers so busy coordinating people that she does not actually pick up Miraz personally. And it hurts her because she really wants to. But I think we see him being carried out by some unnamed NPC.
Oh,
But before that happens, Miraz does something. Or the thing inside Miraz does something. Where's Freya's crown?
It's somewhere on the ground among the bones. It's not on her head.
I think Miraz hasn't needed to be helped out, or we'll see. But, like, at least initially, no one has gone to get him because he's got up. And he kind of, like... So he's got his protective suit, which does protect against heat up to a point. And he is going to, like, stride through the fire and pick up the crown.
Okay. I think you can do this.
Do I need to do anything with that?
I think that the risk here is not harm from the heat. The risk is just takes on that clock. Because the Shrine Builder is using you as a vessel, right? So it's like 2 ticks on that clock is the risk, but then you can do it.
Like, do you mean it's an action, or like?
No, I said I figure it's an action. I think it's possible for you to not take these ticks.
Okay. That's what I was asking. Asking. Yeah. Okay. All right. Position?
Risky standard.
Risky standard. Are there any other treasures here? Like, I'm asking about Desperate Great would probably be other treasures. I don't know if there are.
I mean, there can be. I don't see why not. Let me think. So, let's also establish that, like, the god is also on fire, right? And, like, on divine fire, which is definitely, like, hurting it. So let's say that actually it's possible for you to get some artifact of the Kingfisher itself, right? Like, as it is burning up, some, like a feather that belongs to it that is imbued with its divine power.
I want the pickaxe.
The pickaxe that's lodged in its mouth?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean...
Desperate Great, I get the crown, the pickaxe.
Yeah. Right.
In that case, I can assist you, and I shall.
As you just see, for some reason, your husband just, like, ambling along, just kind of, like, picking stuff off the ground, like, oh, nice pickaxe. Rips it out of its mouth. We'll see.
Yeah, I will assist you, and I am assisting you simply by, like, seeing that you can move about on your own. This is the thing. Vickers obviously wants you to get out of here, but she also trusts you.
Yeah.
Right? She also trusts you to have a plan. And so she is assisting by just directing someone to help you, I think. It's like, in the middle of it, he cuts away, and she just goes to some random scumlander. Like, just pick up the crown, hand it to him.
Very good.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
So I am 1 stress away from traumaing.
Bored. Okay.
Again, and normally I think it would be really cool to trauma out in this situation.
Yeah, but this would be a third
but
trauma.
that would put me at 3 trauma.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
So is there Devil's Bargain?
A Devil's Bargain. Yes. I think that we've realized in this moment that if you hadn't done all this, if you had just asked the Kingfisher for help, it would have, like, completely cured your father.
I don't think it makes sense because Miraz didn't actually have a choice in the opening of this. He was possessed by a ghost as he entered.
Oh yeah, no, that's true.
I'm sorry to push back against
that's
this
fair.
idea, but it's not really something that Miraz can
No,
regret
yeah,
because
I
it was
guess
one
not.
of his past incarnations that walked in and was like, "Fuck
Yeah,
you."
okay, no, that's fair.
So-
Okay, let me think. Because I think a devil's bargain is important here. I think a devil's bargain here would probably have to do with like the past life thing, right? Like about the with the shrine builder and so on. So maybe something like you commit to coming down here and building something. Like the shrine builder impresses upon you subconsciously, right? And like you have to come down here and you have to build something to the Eternal One in this place. And you have to do it as soon as you are able.
I love this because I feel like Miraz would just justify it with like, oh yes, this place desperately needs renovation. It's terrible. This is a huge hazard.
Yeah, let's do it.
Right, yeah.
Okay. So 2 bonus dice then. An assist and the devil's bargain. And I'm prowling. I think
Yeah, that
that's
makes
the most obvious one. Yeah, nothing else I think forks for walking around in the middle of a fire picking stuff up.
You could try finesse, but I don't think. Yeah. 5, a 3, and a 2.
Yeah, that's like 0 dice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that like what happens.
Does it actually end up burning through my suit?
I don't think it does because I think we've seen a lot of harm, and I don't know that like because like any more harm that you take will just be like on top of the level 3, right? I don't think that's interesting. I think that what happens is that it burns up your mechanical hand. I think what you end up having to do is use the hand to pick something up.
Ah, yes, of course.
And I mean, you've abused the hand a lot over the last like couple of hours, right? And it just isn't able to like take the strain. And like it was a lot of work to make this happen, a lot of like rare components and all of this. Like, replacing the hand isn't going to be just as simple as building another one, right? Like that's going to take a long time to like figure that out. But unfortunately, you realize that like either you keep the stuff or you keep the hand. And I think, you know, if you want to keep the hand, you can, but then you don't get the crown or the pickaxe.
That's fine. I think the reason Miraz didn't immediately just use the hand is that Shrine Builder kind of walks around and then realizes that there's a hand and then kind of like laughs at it a bit and then kind of like uses it to pull something out and then just laughs at how easily it just builds at this ridiculous construction that this current incarnation has created. And I think that's why I can't just build a new one. I think I'm impressed in my head. I don't know where the thought comes from.
Excellent.
I think Miraz, like the part of Miraz that's in there is like, that was an awful design. What was I thinking? No. Yeah.
Secretly, I was also thinking this, but I didn't want to like make even more Shrine Builder influence. So I'm glad you came up with it.
I think this is an excellent consequence.
And as you pick this up and like you see like, the Scavlander who's there to help you, kind of like helps you with it. I think they kind of like see you just drop this hand and look down, and they're like, wow, that looks actually pretty impressive, right? But like, just in that one moment.
And then a step.
Yeah, indeed. Very good.
Very good. Okay. I think Miraz is ready to kind of like be carried out now. It's like, that's also really interesting. Like, you know, purposeful movements and so on, and then.
Yeah, just absolutely.
Yes. Okay, so what Victor says is, that crown, hand it there to Miraz. No, my bad. Pick up the crown. Pick up Miraz. Go.
Excellent. Very good.
I think Joan is slow and leaving and will help carry us along with the Scotland. And as we're doing that, I think she has a brief like reverie to the roof ball match where she led this kind of throng of people up to the dais where the snake was watching. And as soon as it looked at them, it kind of compelled them all to kneel. And they were powerless in the face of it, just as we would be powerless in the face of it now, since our God is gone. Does it seem like the fire is enough of a distraction? Or perhaps it's letting us leave, that we can actually make it out of this cave?
I think that in this moment, it seems like if you make it out now, you will not have destroyed it completely, and it will remember. You have the opportunity to leave because, well, Abbas spirit bombed the damn thing, but
Yeah.
I think it will remember and it will act against you. And it will be like very weakened. Like the reason that this is that like Miraz is gonna have to come back down, and when Miraz comes back down, Miraz is gonna find out that the god still exists in here. You could maybe take some action that like I think it is very close to being like weakened enough that it can't take any action against you for a very long time. That position is there, but you'd have to still do something to make that happen.
Oh, that is very tempting. I think we have to do it.
Yeah,
Then.
sure. And like then you could add murdering a god to your resume. So
Or being
Yes.
murdered by a god. We'll see.
or that, yeah.
Yes, kill it, kill it. You are the most competent person in this crew. Kill it.
Okay. Yeah, Joan is going to let Miraz set him down again, let the Scofflander deal with him, and she's going to walk to the god.
As you do, we see Marion kind of like come with you, and she says, "I'm to bury this fucking thing."
Mm-hmm.
Because she's also been like completely like taken in by this being, and she wants her piece of revenge.
There is no response particularly to Marion, because when she looks to Joan, Joan is green-eyed and growing, and she speaks in a hissing voice. You yourself have brought this, Kingfisher. You yourself have declared war upon the Eternal. A foolish thing. The Eternal is far larger than anything, as per its definition, and any opposition will be swallowed. And she unhinges her jaw and
God.
is going to try to eat its physical form.
You're
Okay.
going to eat a god that is on fire. That is amazing.
Yes. Very good.
Ghoul allows me to eat anything.
Yeah.
Have you tried eating the Empire?
I feel like that's next.
It's starting one bite at a time. I will say desperate, and I will say
Yes.
you can do this. This is actually, yeah, desperate, great. You can absolutely eat this physical manifestation of this god using your ridiculous snake powers.
Yeah, and I'm also pushing myself for monstrous because I don't think it would be possible otherwise to eat it like fast enough.
Makes sense. Yeah. Also, with extreme effect, you will consume it entirely, and that will have effects. Saying with great effect, you will eat it. You will be done. If you're pushing for effect, you get extreme effect. Well, I mean, then we can talk about that.
Yeah, so pushing for extreme effect. Yes.
Do you want an assistance?
That sounds would be appreciated.
I do have stress left over. I won't be able to protect you or anything, but I'm leading people out. But it was established that I'm leading people by mostly ordering them, so Vickers is not carrying anything. So she sees Freya come out, and she sees this like poor, like starved girl who's been basically abused by this god, right? And some of her anger comes back through all her discipline. And I will mark my last load to draw my fine pistols, turn towards the burning Kingfisher as Joan approaches it, and just squint and shoot it in the head. It probably
Excellent.
won't kill it or anything, but it's a distraction.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I'm gonna make this a skirmish as she tries to just like wrestle it. She becomes as large as it, or approaching its size. It's like a large person size, right?
Yeah.
And she's just gonna try and wrestle it, and then have a ridiculously large mouth.
Yes. Very good.
So, skirmish with a die from assist. Is there a devil's bargain?
Oh my god. Sure. The devil's bargain is that Marion will never forget that this is now who you have become, and that the clock you're working on that says an understanding with Marion, which is 8 ticks long, will now become 12 ticks long. This is not an easy thing to, try and rewrite.
I have an alternative.
Okay.
So you're trying to eat a god,
Mhm.
right? I'm pretty sure stories about this will filter out, and the Rakshasas are going to pay you a visit.
That is also cool.
Wonderful. I'll take that one.
Okay.
We haven't seen them on screen.
Yes. I am up for introducing a new element.
Now that we destroy one faction, let's make friends with another one.
Yeah. All right. So skirmish with 2 bonus dice.
Mhm.
Desperate extreme.
Oh my god!
2 6s.
2 6s. Fantastic. Wonderful.
So beyond
A
extreme.
6, a 2 in a row.
When Joan gets hangry,
I mean,
nothing stands in her way.
okay.
I love this.
I genuinely think the best way to demonstrate like a beyond extreme thing here is that we should just come up with a new special ability that you now have, having like completely and utterly consumed this god.
Seems fair.
Because I mean, it's 2 6s on an extreme, right?
I think you should have the ability to reach into people's bodies and plug their souls out.
Oh my god, that's
Oh dear.
stressful. That's a lot.
I think my suggestion for a special ability would be something like a royal mien
Yeah.
or mien or however you say that, where you can just seem like, because this thing can make anyone seem like a royal, and I think it would be cool if you just have that ability now.
I
to,
was
like,
also thinking about like that, but I was also thinking about royalty being a continuous cutting motion. And I was wondering whether there might be something interesting in like the way that like the Kingfisher seemed to like pluck the souls out of people, but also
Yeah.
like reshape them, right? I think all of these things are cool.
we can come up with it later, but do note down a special ability. I think
Yeah.
it's a cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hiron's Scion playbook has an ability that I think is perfect, but let's talk about that later.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think just going back to the thing of like, what does this taste like? Have you ever like? I think so. The really incredible mutton kebabs that like you get in like Uttar Pradesh are like juicy and spicy and like always a bit Moorish. They're always a bit like, wow, I can always have another one, right? And I think eating this.
You can't just describe delicious food to a Dutch person. That's just like
Yeah.
rubbing salt in the wound.
I'm more amused by how you are determining that God tastes like a kebab from Uttar Pradesh.
I mean, I have genuinely eaten those kebabs and thought, oh my god. So really, it's just the same logic operating the other direction.
It's- yeah.
I mean, if it's a Kingfisher, shouldn't it taste a bit like a roast, some kind of, I don't know, quail or something, like, you know, really savory in yogurt sauce, you know, that kind
Oh
of
man,
thing.
yeah, sure, why not? I've never had that, but that sounds
What?
incredible.
I made partridge the other day with mustard and tarragon and cream sauce.
Ooh.
Incidentally, is Abbas still like passed out in this cave, or has already been?
No, he's been rescued for sure. Like, I mean, he's not still passed out.
You're part of the everyone who's been rescued. It's up to
Yeah.
you whether Abbas can walk and is just like zoned out, or whether he's
Okay.
being carried. But
I was just wondering if he's at all aware of what's happening with Joan and this Kingfisher, he might, like, in his passed out, like, you know, semi-conscious state, say something like, "You see, Mira, even though the Kingfisher lives up in a tree, the snake can climb up and eat it in the nest."
perfect.
Incredible.
That's probably something utterly eldritch and incomprehensible in response.
Amazing.
Oh god.
Yeah,
Yes, wonderful.
very good. Yeah. And so, yes, it tastes delicious. And Marion just watches you do this, like, completely, like, just no blood in her face whatsoever. Like, what the fuck? And you can see that, like, literally the fear of God is in her now. Because apparently, having left the revolution, you have now become some kind of eldritch snake thing that eats ghosts and things. And you see her just like stumble backwards and fucking leg it. Just run away from you.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Gotta have to go and reconsider being my rifle, I guess.
No, I mean, like, yeah, absolutely. Great.
All right.
Really amazing. Fantastic. That's I think like where all of you kind of like are able to leave the grotto, get onto your little boats, sail back to
Yes.
the west. And maybe that's the shot that
Uh-huh.
we end the score on, is all of you on these boats in various like
Yes.
in various states of like harm.
Hmm. I would like to inform you, Miraz, that we may or may not have a daughter now, depending on what Freya
my
decides to
God.
do. But I am 100% on board for adopting her.
I was like, what? Did the shrine builder get you?
We'll see. Maybe. I mean, she's big enough; she can handle herself. She's not an actual child, but I do think Vickers got very protective of her there.
Oh, that's very
so.
fair. Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I now have 8 stress and level 3 harm and level 1 harm. I think Miraz might. I might not play Miraz for a session or two. I have to think about another character. Should we take a break or something? As we kind of think about things. And 3, can I just have another character sheet before we go?
Is Miraz now gone forever?
No.
He's just going to have a little nap.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just saw a few absolutely mad things occur. Apparently, and I think that this probably has effects in Scotland that we are never going to see. But apparently, like all of the powerful ghosts of all of Scotland royalty for the last like several centuries have all been destroyed. I'm sure that there are some cults in Scotland that have like for the last like few months been a bit like, oh, it's weird that we can't get in touch with them, but like we suspect they exist. And now it's like, nope, all of Scotland and royalty, all of the ghosts have disappeared. This is a big coup for the Empire, is what I'm saying.
To be fair, it's not like they were fighting for Scotland. They were fighting for some sort of twisted, fucked up, forgotten
It's
god.
true.
So it's not like we caused this problem. We just kind of changed the nature of it.
Sure, Miraz will be very happy when he finds out
Correct.
that we struck a blow for the Empire.
Very true.
Mhm.
I think that like so we come back to the temple. We see Miraz is like extremely badly hurt.
Oh no, Miraz is not coming back to the temple. He's being hospitalized immediately.
Yeah, okay, very fair.
The good thing is he is unconscious and cannot complain about this, so we don't have to play it out. But I'm leaving him with my trusted doctor.
Excellent.
I think as soon as you bring him to Amitabh will be like, oh, is he back again? His appointment wasn't ready for this week yet.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably when you find out that I've been seeing Amitabh secretly without telling
Yes.
Excellent.
Excellent. I also think, actually, and I think we don't have to have a scene, but I do want to sneak in a cool detail about Amitabh, which is he is a traditional doctor. He is like, a yogi or whatever, just as much as he is a medical professional. And I think he will notice that something is up with Miraz being, in touch with his past incarnations. We can define later what that will be, but he definitely will figure something out.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah. I also think that like if you do this, we also see Zajidan regularly coming to the hospital, right? Because he's very worried. Oh, in fact, that's a scene that maybe we should see.
Yeah, I want to see that.
When you come back to the temple with Freya but without Miraz, Zajidan is like, oh my god, you okay? Wait, where's Miraz? I think like he's smart enough to know that like you are not like heartbroken, you're not like your son is dead, but he's definitely concerned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Vickers will look at him very seriously and say, "Oh, he's Amitabh is seeing to him. I'm afraid he had a nasty fall. I didn't quite see what happened, but I do believe he saved cousin Joan's life." Vickers will say, and look over to Joan, because Vickers was actually very confused about what happened there.
Yeah.
Do you explain what happened?
I wonder if Joan is a little out of it again.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think she just says in a somewhat distant voice, he is outside now.
Yes. Vickers says as if this is a perfectly normal thing to say.
I think Zajidan will say, hey, what do you mean? Where's my son?
Oh, he's with the doctor. Amitabh, Like I said, he had a nasty fall, but Amitabh assured me he's going to be all right.
Oh, I knew you were going. What was it? Some word you used? Lunking? That's what you were doing, right?
Yeah, I think Vickers actually looks troubled at this, and she says, "Yes, it does turn out it's more dangerous than I thought. I really am very sorry, but well, he's all right, or he will be, I hope."
I'll be the judge of that. This is, and I think he looks at Abbas and says, "I suppose you just watched him do whatever lunking he was doing and didn't stop him." You're a terrible influence, Abbas.
Well,
I think like he's just being like hurtful in a kind of unthinking way because he's very stressed. He says, "You're a terrible influence, Abbas."
so Abbas I think Abbas, Abbas has a like kind of weak spot for Sadichan. He's like, no, Bhaiya, it's not like it's not like that. It wasn't meant to be dangerous. It's just we were just trying to look after the Scotland guests we had. We were just trying to make sure that they were everything was okay, and well, one thing led to another, and but he's fine though. He's okay. You know, he's a tough boy.
I do think you'd better go see to him. It doesn't hurt for him to have his father there.
What do you mean looking after the Skovlander guests? I thought you were on some kind of hiking picnic something. What do the Skovlanders have to do with this?
Oh, yes. Just meeting up with them at this picnic. Yes.
I mean, like, if you want to try and lie to him, it's gonna have to be a roller. Like, it's not gonna.
No. And I think from my performance, Abbas is not very good at lying to his brother.
No, I have an idea, if I may. I think so. In the break, I've decided that my alternate character is going to be Freya. That's what I'm doing now. So Freya was kind of like being a little bit shell shocked, probably making herself very small, kind of pipes up in a voice that's like completely at odds to the very regal, confident posture that she had as we had seen her last under the influence of the Kingfisher. Now she kind of says, "You are his father? Yes, he. It seems that my friends, they don't want to say because you would naturally worry. It seems that some of my friends and we're Skovlanders, you see. We're from the hospitality ghetto. We were exploring the caves as well, and your family, your son especially, we were lost and we were in danger, and then they rescued us, and he got hurt a bit, but I'm sorry that this happened to him at the expense of my safety and my friends, but it's just that, and I'm sure they don't want you to worry. That's why.
Yeah, I think that could work. I think Sajidhan says he's always so kind, too nice to send him away to Squall, maybe see if he can come. Just okay, fine. Just I'm gonna go see him, and I think he's just like muttering to himself, like there's no even like logic or like through line here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's just like so shaken up, and he can't imagine like his only son, like being in a hospital. Who knows where he is, all this stuff.
Yeah, I think Vickers will nod at him, and she will turn to Freya and the other people and say, like, right, I suppose we'd best get you situated since you don't have that cave to live in. Let me take a moment to show you around. And
yes, of course.
Yeah, and I think she will do so. And if I may have the spotlight just a little bit longer, I think we see Vickers like go through the entire motions of getting everyone settled. There will be like everyone will be fed, and everyone will get a bed, and so on. And then she will excuse herself after quite a lot of work, and she will return to her and Mirasa's room, And the camera will see her step inside with this determined look on her face. And then she will turn towards the altar in our room. And there's a very heavy sigh coming over her. And she turns towards the wheel and says, "Right then. I suppose I haven't been the best at this." And then she will pick up some incense and she will kneel down and she will pray. And there is genuine desperation in her face as she prays. Because she does not show how worried she is in public, but she is very worried.
Very fair.
And I think this is the first time she has actually properly prayed to the Chokroborty.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, normally Miraz does that. He's the priest.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, as you have been shunned, there is no way that like you get any response. But you know.
I know, but fortunately, Vickers doesn't know that. She has no attune. It is, prayer is not about changing the mind of God. It is about changing yourself, and this is precisely what she's doing in this moment.
Oh man, yeah, 100%. What are Joan and yes, I know actually what is happening to Joan and potentially Abbas if you're around, which is that your cohorts Padmapriya and Padmamukhi are gonna find you, Joan. And they have also, over the last 2 weeks and months, been turning slowly more snake-like, and they will approach you. You don't have to see that like right now. I just wanted to flag this because I thought about it during the break and then I forgot. So I'm just bringing it back. What are Abbas and Freya doing?
Would you be like showing me around and talking to me, or would you be too worried about Miraz and kind of not care about this Covelander kid?
I think Abbas would be worried about Miraz. Like, when all said and done, Miraz is his family, and I think he also feels guilty from what Zajan saying that he has a bad influence on Miraz.
One showing you around is probably Maud.
Because
I suspect Johannes is also in laid up with Amitabh. Because they were also very badly hurt. Maud is more or less fine. And she doesn't have anywhere else to go except the temple. So unless you're gonna kick her out. Is returned. If you want, I think that's where your familiarity with the temple is going to come from, is with Maud kind of like describing it to you, and then like taking you to like she and Johannes were staying, and like those quarters and so on. Mm-hmm. But I think Maud is the person who's going to be kind of like helping you, because at the end of the day, you were like had that connection and so on. So.
Yeah. I wonder how awkward as fuck this is.
It's pretty awkward as fuck.
As we... I think Freya, who's kind of blinking around, and you can see that in her movements, she's like a little bit... She's trying to figure out how to use limbs. They're not like falling face down, but like it's like, someone who's had to go through like physical therapy, for example, right? Very like, oh, I can do this, I can do that. And I think there's also, as she kind of like steps near, like, I don't know, let's say there's a very cold part of the temple, she kind of like shivers unexpectedly hard, as though like, she hasn't felt cold. Like actually she herself hasn't felt cold in a while. And things like that. Like all the physical sensations, she's kind of like taken up with it. But there's also an element of like avoiding speaking to Maud until I guess we get to the point where I don't think the temple has like massive amounts of guest quarters, to be honest. So I think I'd probably, for lack of like anywhere else to go for now, I'd probably be in Maud's room, right? Maud and Johannes' room.
I feel like it's kind of like
and
a
sit
dorm that's been like empty. So there's like enough room, like a few beds, and you can just sleep there, but it's not like particularly nice. It's nice enough.
Yeah. And I'd just sit there, and after a while I'd just look at Maud, and I'd very quietly say, I'm sorry.
I think Maud, whom we have always known as a remarkably like patient and kind person, turns to look at you and says, "Really got into, didn't it?" Kingfisher.
When the name is said, Freya kind of like visibly kind of like jolts and then kind of looks distant. And how far away is Maud now? Like, I guess I'm sitting on what I guess is now my bed.
I think Maud is probably like curled up on her own bed, so maybe like 10 feet away.
Yeah, I think yeah, Freya doesn't really respond and kind of just turns away, kind of like curls up on her own. And I think like if Maud kind of looks around, like very shortly she will see that Freya's like visibly shaking and sobbing.
I think Maud will stand up and then like next to you and not like really give you a hug and simply like be around you, because I think she's not sure the physical contact is something you want or whether it will just like freak you out more. I think she will say, "It'll get better." Got out. Got out. All of us. Because of what Vickers did. He'll get better.
I think Freya kind of like, so there's obviously the element of like, oh my god, I've just been through something fundamentally traumatizing and now I'm safe, and also this person is someone I have hurt sort of but wasn't really, anyway, that kind of thing, which is like, you know, the emotional level of like why she's shaking and crying. But I think also her eyes are kind of open and her mind is searching. Her mind is searching, and she will, I think, like, I'm going to roll fortune here because I don't know what this would be, right? I don't know what the nature of this interaction would be. I'm going to roll fortune Attune because the former vessel of a god has just arrived at this temple. And the eternal one, or at least its avatar, has rejected us. But surely I can't just show up here with the mind that I have without something happening, without some connection.
Yeah,
for good or
so
ill.
we'll see.
So I'm rolling fortune to see how wanted/unwanted I am, or how fucked I am.
A 1, a 4, and a 1. So it's
4.
a 4, which is not total fail.
Yeah.
I think that you understand that the attention of the god upon this place is not as laser focused as it might have been. And because of that, there is a little space for you. But if the god were to return in full force, you're not sure what would happen.
I think Freya is just visibly shaking as she realizes that she is essentially a mouse in a snake's cage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Maud.
As to the question of like whether Maud should touch me or not, I think what Freya would benefit the most from right now is a big hug. However, I don't think Freya understands that what she would benefit from the most in the world is a big hug and will not request.
But I think Maud is a good enough elder sibling that like she will. I think like when Maud sits next to you and realizes that like the reaction is not, "Oh no, stay away from me," but "Oh, this is nice," she will wrap you up in a big hug and she will say, "It'll get better." She will kind of like find herself to some extent. And Freya first came to the temple, she was the one telling Maud that everybody would be okay, and that was based in a kind of like this divine like conviction, right? What is happening here is actually much more mundane and much more day to day. Actually, because of that, maybe even more beautiful and profound. I think Maud is kind of like saying to you that you can be her family very differently than Freya said to Maud. Freya was still under the influence because what is saying that it's not about, royalty or blood or whatever. It's about we are choosing to be each other's family.
All right. I'm happy to let the scene go there.
And so blows out our brief candle. I named the disciples of the ceaseless temple thus, with both their given names and taken. Soumithri, called Tree. Zoheb, called Klow. Prince, Emma, and Aadiyat, called Soap. Intro music, Jalandhar by Kevin MacLeod. Outro music in Kiravani Ragam by Srinivas. Blades in the Dark by John Harper and Evil Hat Productions. Iruvian playbooks by Johnstone Metzger. Follow us at Desperate Attune on Twitter or email us at desperateattune@gmail.com. Support us at kofi.com/desperateattune.
A woman writes furiously in her notebook. Her mind is ablaze with ideas, each more wild than the last. She cannot keep up. She recalls little of the conversation with the Eternal One, he who speaks flame, the end that begins. The more she thinks of it, the fuzzier it gets. But she knows what has happened. She has spoken to a god. Not just spoken to him, berated him for the crime he has committed against history. One such as he need not remind himself what has happened before, but lesser mortals require records and remembrances. She spoke so fast, unhesitant, without any sense of restraint, and so found herself looking into the eyes of something that could crush her without a second thought. So it showed her. It showed her secrets, mechanical and magical. It showed her what a paltry thing it had eaten, compared to the wonders of yesteryear and the excellences of time to follow. She thinks it was meant to cow her into submission. It succeeded, briefly. She cannot recall how it came to converse with her or where they were before it occurred. She found herself in her own room in Golampith, feeling like she had been set ablaze by the well itself. An impossible urge to fly to the temple of the unceasing wheel and prostrate herself before the altar possessed her. She would have done so, had she not noticed what the god had also done. Her prosthetic hand, her pride and joy, the reason that she had been officially accepted as an apprentice of the guild, that had changed as well. It had become a thing that she had only dreamed of, a device fitted to her like a perfect ball in a perfect socket. It no longer thrummed like it used to, and as she examined it, she realized that it had been improved. No, perfected. Then she had been overcome by a dark fury. She took the prosthetic off, determined to smash it to pieces. She had made something of herself, something for herself, and the arrogant, thoughtless god had replaced it. Then she saw the maker's mark on it. It was her own, of course. This was something she had made, that she never recalled making. The Eternal One had reached into a past that never existed and pulled out something that had been crafted by her own two hands. The prosthetic and the real. Arrogance. And yet the insights in this single hand could power a generation of Chandlers. She writes, "In the darkness, a god watches. Perhaps."